Welcome, Roomers and Zoomers, to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Jolynn Ibanez, and I am your worship associate today. I'm joined by Reverend Sian Wiltshire, our minister, and Beth Syverson, our music director of music ministries, and welcoming you this morning. Karen Magoon Pearson, our director of religious education, is currently holding classes for our children at Estancia Park. We would also like to thank all of the wonderful volunteers behind the scenes who made today's service possible. We also respectfully recognize that our church property land rests on Ahachiman and Tongva land. As Unitarian Universalists, we have many different beliefs, but we are one loving community. Together, we covenant that whatever our beliefs, we accept one another and encourage each other in spiritual growth. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we are committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. To our roomers, we invite you to silence your cell phones. For our Zoomers, we invite you to say hello in the chat. I want to extend a special welcome to visitors. If you're seeking a spiritual home, we hope that you will find it here. Later in the service, we will have an opportunity for you to introduce yourself if you'd like to do so. Let our worship begin with the lighting of our chalice. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. This we affirm together.
Our opening song is one we've sung here for many years, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. But today we're going to try out some new words. We want to be more inclusive to the Zoomers. So log on. Everyone can rejoice. And y'all here in the room can come in. Well, you're already here. But anyway, let's try this new lyrics out. Log on, rejoice, and come in. Log on, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Log on, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Log on, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Log on, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Log on, rejoice, and come in. Log on, rejoice, and come in. Log on, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Log on, rejoice, and come in. One more time. Log on, rejoice, and come
In the hair I brush each morning, in the towel newly washed that I rub my body with each morning, in the chapel of eggs I cook each morning, in the outcry from the kettle that heats my coffee each morning, and the spoon and the chair that cry, "Hello there, Anne," each morning, in the Godhead of the table that I set my silver plate cup upon each morning. All this is God, right here in my pea green house each morning. And I mean, though I often forget, I mean to give thanks, to faint down by the kitchen table in a prayer of rejoicing as the holy birds of the kitchen window peck into their marriage of seeds. So while I think on it, let me paint a thank you on my palm for this God, this laughter in the morning, lest it go unspoken. The joy that isn't shared, I've heard, dies young. Let us this morning share joy.
I love that song. The winter of '03. I remember the Rockettes came to town at Christmastide, a roadshow version of the New York City's Radio Music Hall Spectacular, featuring the long-legged lovelies who dance in unison, kick high, and strut around to big band music. The hot ticket for Christmas. You just gotta go. Spectacular is the operative word. And even more extravaganza was available that winter. A big samurai movie and a big sailing ship battle movie and another big round of the Lord of the Rings and the big college football games and the big TV super spectacular phantasmagoricals. All spectacular, all big, big, big. But somehow, hyperstimulation was not what I wanted that Christmas. Some low-key joy would do. Amateur joy. I remembered a conversation I had with a Greek friend of mine in a small village on the island of Crete. I asked why the Greeks minimize the celebration of Christmas, but go all out for Easter. He explained that December the 25th was just a birthday. Everybody has a birthday. Easter, on the other hand, celebrates the resurrection from the dead. That's amazing. That's spectacular. That's big. Besides, by the end of December, the Cretans have survived the stress of the tourist season and the exhaustion of the olive and the orange harvest and the first storms of the winter. Nobody's up for roasting lambs outdoor in the windy rain and dancing around in circles in the village square. A quiet church service, a walk home in the silent night, soup and bread, some songs with family around a fire, and bed. That's it. The work of amateurs. And that would explain why on a Saturday night in December, when I could have seen the Rockettes or gone to the symphony or watched explosions in a movie theater, I was somewhere else. in a small church in my neighborhood, listening to a choir of dedicated amateurs sing their hearts out. At the intermission, there were home-baked cookies provided by the ladies of the church, and I bought a raffle ticket for a handmade Christmas quilt. The proceeds would be given to the needy in the neighborhood. Then we returned to the sanctuary, and we heard a reading of Dylan Thomas's account of a child's Christmas in Wales. Finally, the audience joined with the choir in singing carols, ending with Silent Night. Off key, but sincere. Unspectacular, no glitz, no glamour, no extravagance, no big deal. Walking home in the rain, I realized this was not a Christian thing. It was about the universal companionship of amateurs, of any faith, of any culture, struggling like me to feel at home in the winter's dark, and awed to be a part of the mystery of it all. I wasn't excited when I went to bed. I was just contented with getting what I wanted most so early in the holiday season. The company of people like me who find themselves in the middle of winter in a capacity for joy. Small and deep and ordinary. Amateur joy.
So this morning we're going to talk about two types of joy, that spectacular and bombastic joy and the ordinary, amateur, everyday joy. I think most of us have probably experienced being sort of stopped in your tracks by a momentous kind of joy. Let's start there. It might be something that you planned, it might not be. I remember the first time I heard Marianne Williamson describe joy, and it really resonated with me. So let me read you what she had to say. She said, "Joy is what happens when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things are." I'll read that again. Joy is what happens when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things are. She continues, "Joy is not necessarily what happens when things unfold according to our own plans. How often that's happened. We married the right person, had the children, got the job, and we've still known despair. Joy is what happens when we see that God's plan is perfect and we're already starring in a perfect show. It demands that we have the audacity to embrace the knowledge of just how beautiful we really are and how infinitely powerful we are right now, without changing a thing, through the grace that is consistently born and reborn within us. Such an embrace is not arrogant, but humble. It is not crazy, but realistic. It is an appraisal of our lives through the eyes of the goddess. I have not known a lot of joy, but I have known some. When I am there in that golden circle where everything feels wonderful for no apparent reason, I try to memorize the feeling, the terrain, the scenery. I have noticed how full I feel in these moments, with an overwhelming sense of rightness about all things. I know that this is our natural state, and the purpose of our lives is to achieve it consistently." She ends this way. "For now, joy is a gift, an act of grace that's here when it's here and not when it's not. But perhaps joy can be practiced. Perhaps we can decide to be happy, to give joy before waiting to receive it. Perhaps joy can be practiced." This morning for our meditation, I invite you to take some deep breaths again. Soften your eyes, get comfy in your chair. That reading may or may not have resonated with you. But what does joy feel like to you? What does that word mean for you, joy? And have you ever had one of those moments where you're overwhelmed with a sense of rightness? When you recognize just how good things are. I invite you to bring to mind a memory of this kind of deep joy, and how did it feel in your body? Do you remember the feeling, the terrain, the scenery? When you're ready, I invite you to join Beth in singing.
Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Sing and rejoice, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing, all things living now sing and rejoice, 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 sing and rejoice.
Sometimes joy hits you like a Mack truck, only much nicer, right? It can be something you didn't expect, or maybe it's even something, though, that you actually planned, like seeing the Rockettes, that big, spectacular, wow experience. But I remember the first time I felt that kind of overwhelming sense of rightness, that momentous kind of joy. I was in college in my 20s, and I lived with this absolutely wonderful couple named Tom and Donna. And Tom and Donna were way ahead. They're about 10 years older than me, in the middle of their careers and starting families and house. And I lived with them, and they were incredibly kind, supportive, and generous to me during that time. I don't remember why, but I decided one day, I was near campus. This was before cell phones, right, where you actually had to go to a payphone, if some of us remember that. And I remember I went to the payphone to call Donna. I think I was just going to tell her that I was running a little late, or when I was going to be home for dinner or not, or something like that. And that's when she told me that she'd gotten pregnant. She was so happy. And all I could think about as I hung up the phone with her was, all is right with the world. Here's this amazing, wonderful couple. They're going to bring this baby into this world full of love. I remember just walking down the avenue, almost in like a kind of high that lasted, I don't know, 10, 20 minutes, something like that, of just like, life is good. Life is right. That's why when I read Marianne Williamson's description of it, that feeling of rightness in the world, that's what resonated with me. It's like, oh, that's what I felt. That was the joy. There's other moments of joy that you can plan even. You just have to be mindful about it. Okay, so some of you may have had, for example, a wedding, right? For me, it was my ordination. Boy, I just wanted a party. But I had to make myself that day on that ordination to actually accept the compliments, the affirmation, everything. I was like, Sean, just zen into this. It's okay. It's okay. And it was one of the most joyful days of my life because I accepted it. And it was really hard. Isn't it strange how letting yourself feel joy can be hard? I think it's because it requires us to feel a little vulnerable, to let go of our cynicism, but especially our self-doubt. To let ourselves believe in the rightness of the moment, that it's perfectly just where you are right then and there. As I said, those of you who've experienced maybe holding a child for the first time, your child, maybe you've experienced something like that. Maybe it was your wedding. But the key is you gotta let yourself feel it. You know, some experts I've been actually reading, there are actually experts on joy, believe it or not, out there. They describe joy as different from happiness. So happiness they define as an evaluation of your life over time, right? It says, if someone says, so are you happy? You sort of think about your whole life and you kind of go, oh yeah, I'm generally pretty happy, that kind of thing. But joy, on the other hand, they say is something that happens to you only in the present moment. It's momentary, temporary, often fleetingly so. But what if there was a way to create those moments? That maybe we could practice joy as Williamson suggests. Where then might we find joy?
When humans had begun to thrive in the world, the gods became concerned that they had perhaps made these creatures a bit too resilient. The humans were creating language, building villages, hunting and gathering their food. They were not needing the gods as much as they once had. So the gods gathered to contemplate this problem and debated where to hide the secret to life. One minor god argued for the deepest abyss in the ocean, another for the highest peak on the highest snow-covered mountain. A more experienced god said, now they will find that. Hide it on the far side of the moon. The supreme god listened to all of this advice, recognizing that the gods were becoming afraid of human intelligence and drive. No, he said, I will hide it where these resourceful creatures will never look. Where? Clamored all the lesser gods. I will hide the secret to human happiness within the human heart. It is the last place they will ever look. And all of the gods nodded. And it was so. And it was so. And it is so.
So let's talk about ordinary, everyday kind of joy. Where do we find joy? Well, if you know anything about Mary Oliver, you know she's all about that. She's got something to say about it. She writes, every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in the haystack of light. It was what I was born for, to look, to listen, to lose myself inside this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, and the very drab, the daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world, the ocean's shine, the prayers that are made out of grass. Amen. Zoomers, there was a big motorcycle going by. All right, again, another little meditation this morning. Soften your eyes if you like. I invite you to try. Can you imagine walking through the world the way that she does, where you find something that kills you with delight? I want to invite you to try to do that, to think about your life. Can you think of something that for a fleeting moment might kill you with delight? Something in your life. How about in your home in this very moment, here in this room? O good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? Please join Beth in singing.
Sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now, let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now, sing and rejoice now, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice, sing and rejoice. Let all things living now sing and rejoice.
For those of you who can't see the slide, there's a sign being held up that says, "You're creating problems in your head again. Stop that." Have you ever been in a place of joy and then suddenly it gets squelched? Maybe you're out for a walk, feeling the wonderful sunshine, birds are chirping, you think all is right with the world, and then something happens. Joy gets knocked out of us if we let it. Joy squelchers. That's what my friend Amanda calls them, joy squelchers. Maybe it's that we bring out our phone and we look at Facebook, right? And we start comparing ourselves to our friends. Or we look at the news, we get one of those news buzz alerts with some new disaster. Or maybe our boss or somebody in the family calls with some bad news. Or maybe it's just even someone as you're smiling as you walk down the street and someone walks by you. Or someone even that you know. You're having too much fun over there. Aren't you kind of old to be doing that? Guys don't do that. Women don't do that. Insert ethnic, religious, or cultural group don't do that. Who do you think you are? But most joy squelchers actually don't come outside of us. They come from within, right? We are our worst joy squelchers. You start thinking about the future, worries, stress, fears, or you remember the past, and oh, what if I had only done that? And you get the joy squelched right out of you. Maybe it's something simple like, I don't deserve to be this happy, this joyful, with all the suffering in the world. Or you think that we can't even feel joy and sadness at the same time, that we don't deserve to laugh when others are in tears, that somehow we don't deserve joy amidst grief or loss. I mean, who do you think you are? Stop that! Stop that! You deserve joy. Joy helps make pain bearable in the present moment. It doesn't negate the pain or loss. Allowing ourselves to experience joy, even the oddest, most incongruent moment, is an affirmation of our humanity, our shared humanity. It's an affirmation that we were meant to be joyful and deserve to be happy. And it's a reminder that the pain will dull and retreat, but it doesn't negate it. I've been trying to slow down a bit. Since I knew I was going to be preaching on joy, I was like, okay, I really try to practice what I preach. So for the last few weeks, I've been trying to practice really slowing down to find those moments of joy, right? As a matter of fact, I was out with lunch with Judy. We went up to the Long Beach Museum, Art Museum, and there's that wonderful cafe called Claire's. And as we sit down, we had this beautiful table overlooking the bay there and the port. And Judy remarks, "Oh, look at the sparkling water." And I go, "Oh, yeah, that's nice." And then I move on, and I was like, "No, Sean, turn, look, appreciate the water. Find the joy, the sparkling water that's there." If you know Judy, she's full of joy, so she's easy to do that with. But it's just one of those things where you have to stop and really look at it and appreciate it. Find those little moments and revel in them. Because those little moments, they're all around us. They're hiding in our hearts if we just open up to us, right? The amateur joy is there if we let it in. And the funny thing is that for the last couple of weeks, I've been finding things that just kill me with delight. So let me share some of those with you. Okay, those are my dogs. I mean, how could you not look at that and just go, right? The little one up on the right, that's Shepherd Book, and he always sits in the chair that way, which beckons me to rub his tummy, okay? And Leia has those eyes. That's Princess Leia there on the left.
Lovely.
Yes. You can't not do something like that, right? All right. And then there's this garden that I planted. Now, this may not seem like a lot to y'all, but this was dirt, okay? And I planted this, and it's lush and green. I've got all these wonderful succulents and everything like that in there, and it brings me joy every time I walk. And I have to stop now, not to smell the roses, because there really aren't any roses there, but to admire the lushness and the greenness of this wonderful thing that I planted. And then, of course, there are memories. This is my BFF Jewel on her wedding day years ago. And there's, of course, memories of me and my twin sister. All of these things. Memories are great places to mine for joy, right? These are everyday joys. They're not big or bombastic. They're the small little, "aww," right? Or that thing of appreciation or a snort of laughter. My twin sister and I, we were talking about joy, how we used to go to bus stops all the time, and we would just giggle and laugh hysterically until the bus came. I don't know why, but we did. You have to think to stop and notice and appreciate those small moments of joy. It's like creating this holy part in our hearts that opens up like a flower. As Williamson and Oliver say, we're born with this inside of us. We just need to be reminding of it. We need to know where to look and to open our hearts to it. It's all around us if we just let it in.
Tucked away in our tiny bedroom, so near each other, the edge of my prayer rug covered the edge of his. My brother and I prayed. We were 18 and 11 maybe, or 19 and 12. He was back from college, where he built his own computer, and girls kissed him on the mouth. I was barely anything, just wanted to be left alone to read and watch The Simpsons. We prayed together as we had done thousands of times, rushing ablations over the sink, laying our janazames out towards the window facing the elm, which one summer held an actual crow's nest full of baby crows, fuzzy, black-beaked fruit. They were miracles we did not think to treasure. My brother and I hurried through sloppy postures of praise, quiet as the light pooling around us. The room was so small, the twin bed took up nearly all of it, and as my brother, tall and endless, moved to kneel, his foot caught the coiled brass doorstop, which issued forth a loud brong. The noise crashed around the room like a long, wet bullet shredding through porcelain. My brother bit back a smirk, and I tried to stifle a snort. But solemnity ignored our pleas. We erupted, laughter quaking out of our faces, into our bodies and through the floor. We were hopeless, laughing at our laughing. Our glee an infinite rope fraying off in every direction. It's not that we forgot God or the martyrs or the prophet's holy word. Quite the opposite. In fact, we were boys built to love what was in front of our faces. My brother and I, on the floor, draped across each other, laughing tears into our prayer rugs.
Letting ourselves feel joy. It's countercultural. It's hard to find it these days, it feels like. The joy squelchers are getting the upper hand. Our worries, the news, the world. And this is why joy is countercultural. We have to stop practicing squelching and start practicing reveling in joy. Now, of course, I could, read off to you all the studies that say joy is good for our health, right? Reduces stress and blood pressure and all of those sorts of things, right? You know the drill. I think of joy as good for our soul. It opens us up for more joy, for spreading it around to others. Because that's the secret about joy, is it's really not that hard to find if you go looking for it. But you have to let yourself feel it. You have to take that moment to feel it. Okay, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to feel it. All right? I'm going to show you a very, very short video. It's like 10 seconds long, okay? There's no audio to this, so don't worry if you don't hear anything. There's no audio, and no dogs were hurt in the making of this video. I just want you to know. Okay, all right. I love this video. I listen to this. I look at this like anytime, you're going along, life feels so good, and then, I love how the dog's just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go over here. So remember that feeling, okay? That open up, because laughter is one of the greatest ways that we experience joy. Matter of fact, we automatically want to smile. If you didn't have your mask on, I'd see y'all smiling at each other, because that's what we do when we experience joy. So I just want to rest in that feeling. Let's watch that again, all right? All right. Note that feeling. Oh, that feeling. It feels so good. If you're like me, you're on Reddit or Facebook, you go on to the next post, right? You don't stop. Just go, okay, I'm just going to rest in that for a moment. That was funny. And you don't have to watch internet videos or even have something funny to experience joy. It's the feeling of your heart opening up. So I'm going to give you some exercises that you can do this week to open yourself up to joy. I got all these from my friend who is one of the experts in joy. Her name is Reverend Amanda Aikman. She actually does a whole workshop on joy and all sorts of things. She says, okay, so here's one thing that you can do. Give a blessing or send loving kindness to people around you. Whenever you're in a crowd, you're in the grocery store, you don't have to know them. Just send them loving kindness, maybe a little blessing. Maybe you're in the waiting room, grocery store, anywhere. All right? at night when you crawl into bed and you pull the covers up because those days are warm. It's a little chilly now these days, right? Get it right underneath your nose. Think about the best moment of your day. Maybe it was that moment of pulling the covers right up to your nose. But just remember that moment, what the scenery was like, the terrain, what did you feel? And let yourself be in that moment of joy. Because they're there every single day. Even if it's just glancing outside going, wow, look at that gorgeous sunshine actually coming through the clouds. Here's one that I actually practice a fair bit. Every time you're at a stoplight or a stop sign, send out a little prayer or positive thoughts to someone who's in pain. That's a really nice one to do. Because I sometimes forget to set aside time, as a minister, to set aside time for prayer. So when I tell you that I will pray for you, chances are I'm going to be in my car at a stop sign or a stoplight. And okay, that's right, pray for that, okay. And I tell you, it takes your mind off traffic, everything. It's a wonderful feeling. Now, if you're really ambitious this week, because, we are sort of, Unitarian Universalists, but dance to your favorite song. At the very least, tap your feet. Make sure you listen to it. And that's the challenge. Because next week, we're going to continue talking about joy and about how we bring it out into the world. And I'm going to ask y'all, did you do any of these exercises? And how did it feel? Test, all right? Test. All right. Now, I want you to know that a colleague of mine who's preached here before says, wow, you guys sing a lot. I said, yeah, that's right, we do. We sing a lot in this church. You know why? Because it's joyful. So let us sing.
Please rise in body or spirit.
Unitarian Universalist congregations are fully self-supporting, meaning that members and friends raise all the funds for the operating budget, ministries, and programs of the church. We are ever grateful for your gifts of time, treasure, and talent. OCUC amplifies that spirit of generosity by sharing half the plate we receive with an organization that shares our values. This month, we are supporting Hearts and Hands, which is sponsored by the Newport Mesa Interfaith Council. We will provide Christmas stockings to teenage residents of shelters in Orange County because nothing spreads joy like things like that, right? And the kids spent yesterday, the youth group spent yesterday baking cookies because nothing spreads joy like a homemade cookie. There are multiple ways in which you can support the church and this organization. You can mail a check, you can go through our website, use an app now called Vanco Mobile, or if you are a roomer, you can place your offering in a basket as you leave the service today. The choice is yours. All the information is on our website should you need it. As always, thank you for your generosity.
Thank you for playing with us, Sarah. That was awesome. Now we are going to sing the song that we sing every week. It's a song that puts our intentions into words and expresses our gratitude for the many gifts we share. We gather together, we gather as one, for peace, love, and justice for everyone. We give from our hearts to show that we care. We can change lives with what we share.
Well, now is that time in our service when we honor the important events and people in our lives. And you are invited, one and all, whether you're a member, a friend, or a visitor, to participate in this ritual that we call Joys and Sorrows. I'd like to invite Lori Kluge up here. She's one of our pastoral care team members, and she'll be assisting us. So perhaps you've come here today holding something close to your heart, moments from the last days, weeks, or hours, something that has struck you at your core. If you'd like to honor such a profound joy or sorrow, you're invited to do so with the lighting of a candle. If you're a roomer, you're invited to come forward to light the candle yourself. If you would like to share your joy or sorrow, you can write it on a slip of paper that you can get from the ushers if you didn't already fill it out, and you can hand it to me. If you're a Zoomer, you can write it in the chat, and I'll read those out loud, and Lori will then light a candle for you. So as music plays, I invite you to silently offer healing or celebration as you feel called and according to your own beliefs. We've got some candles that would like to be lit. Meg Wilson has asked us to light a candle for her son, Jason, who's recovering from open heart surgery. There's been some complications which I hope have been uncomplicated, so please send her and Jason your positive thoughts. Angie Anderson also asks that you send positive thoughts for her sister, Hannah, who's a regular here too. So Hannah, we hope all is going well with you. Peggy P., she says she has a joy. She says, my husband Richard, who in recent years has survived 2 types of cancer being struck by a car, has remarkably healed and celebrated his 75th birthday this past week. And Kata Roma says, we are joyful because a queer sibling is visiting us, joyful for chosen family and creating our own spaces of belonging. Amen. Right on. Birdie offers healing thoughts for Roberta Fox, who's recovering from knee replacement surgery yesterday. Her daughter Sheila is taking care of her at home. She says emails and texts are welcome, but to hold off on the phone calls for right now. Maureen McConaughey would like a candle of joy lit. She says, today my chorale gets to sing in person for the annual tree lighting at the City of Orange's Circle after only being virtual last year. We're getting back to singing. Isn't that lovely? Birdie also would like a candle lit for Yvonne Akala and healing thoughts sent to her, who will have pain-relieving surgery tomorrow. She also asks that you hold off on phone calls, but cards are very welcome. And Karen Kennedy has would like to express a couple of things. One is her joy of the music today, and Joel Lynn being a worship associate.
Love you, Karen.
And we have here today, we have the Killshore. They say it was wonderful to have our home filled with the sounds of joy as we hosted the youth cookie bake at the last minute. Our oven here conked out, so they took them over to the Killshore's house. Said adult beverages and conversation were enjoyed as the youth took over the task of baking. That's awesome. And Sue Quam is a candle of joy. They lit a candle of joy for Bob and Sherry Lushan. They hosted a lovely auction event featuring a concert at the First Congregational Church of Long Beach, followed by a gourmet dinner at their home. Thank you for a lovely evening. And if you've never done this, it's an auction event they do every year, and it's amazing. And Sue goes on to say that to make an effort to go to that Long Beach Winter Festival concert at the First Congregational Church in Long Beach, I can also attest it's very, very joyful. And Ginny Chan, she lit a candle of care. She says, my husband who broke his shoulder last night. Oh, I'm sorry, Ginny. Craig Preston has both a candle of sorrow and joy. He says, sorrow for the side effects of burning coal. Yeah. Joy for Congress being 1 vote away from meaningful action on climate crisis. Pray for Senator Joe Manchin, West Virginia. Amen. And unfortunately, Marilyn, friend, she has a sorrow, a very deep sorrow. She says, please keep in your thoughts my friend Suzanne, who died suddenly on Wednesday. She will be missed. Keep joy in your heart for life, Marilyn. Yeah. All right, let us hold in love all these joys and celebrations and all the hurts and sadness, whether they've been spoken or they held silent in our hearts. Let our joys remind us to be thankful, our concerns remind us to hope, and our sorrows remind us to connect. Let all these moments remind us that we are not alone. I invite you to join Lori in a spirit of prayer or meditation.
On the day when the weight deadens on our shoulders and you stumble, may the clay dance to balance you. And when your eyes freeze behind the gray window and the ghost of loss gets into you, may a flock of colors, indigo, red, green, and azure blue, come to awaken in you a meadow of light. When the canvas frays in the currach of thought and a stain of ocean blackens beneath you, may there come across the waters a path of yellow moonlight to bring you safely home. May the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so, may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. Amen, and blessed be.
Let us join together to extinguish the flame of our chalice and say together, our chalice, but not the light of truth or the warmth of community. These are of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Thank you for joining us this morning. We are a congregation of people who all believe differently. And yet when we gather together, whether we are in the room or we are on Zoom, we make up one loving community. We need not think alike to love alike. If you're a guest, a visitor, or someone who hasn't yet been known to us, I invite you to become a part of this beloved community. We encourage you to either write in the chat or stand for a brief moment and tell us your name and where you are from. Well, okay. If you'd like to know more about our church, including programming for our youth and children, if you were too shy to say that you're new, then please contact us at hello@ocuuc.org, and we will help you get connected. In addition, we would invite you to sign up for our weekly email called The Blast, at blast@ocuuc.org. We want everyone to feel part of this beloved community, so please reach out and we will help you get connected. After the service, we will have a short period where everyone, roomers and Zoomers alike, can wave and say hello and welcome any visitors. That's right over here. The Zoomers who remain will be placed into a Zoom breakout groups for 20 minutes, and we invite you to check in and get to know the people in your group.
All right, announcements. Let's see here. So if you have been reading The Reach, and you all read The Reach, right? Yeah, that's our newsletter, our monthly newsletter. Then this will not come as a surprise to you, but just in case you happen to miss it, I want to let you know that if you weren't aware, our very own Beth Syverson over here has been with us for 20 years. And when I asked the board, I said, board, we got to do something. We got to do something. What can we do? And they said, well, why don't we ask Beth? What would she like to do? So Beth is going to be taking a 10-week sabbatical. Yay. No. She's going to be learning all different types of music and bringing that joyful sound back to us. So we're really excited for her. And in the meantime, we have a wonderful dream team of people who are going to be doing music with me, including Steve Morihiro, Barbara Morihiro, and Sarah Hunter are going to be working with me and putting music together. We've already got some wonderful things lined up. We're going to be bringing in outside people and special music and all sorts of things, because you know Beth, right? She's not going to leave it to chance. She's going to make sure that there's lots of good music going on here. So I think we're even looking at Jim Scott maybe here and a couple other people. So it's going to be really a wonderful time. And we want to also, this starts January 1st. So she'll be here through Christmas and everything. And then she'll be back in mid-March. So I'll let you know all about that. The second thing is, Jolyn mentioned that, and the Killshores mentioned about the youth baking cookies. Are you hungry? Because they're selling them out here to raise money for Hearts and Hands. All right? So, Joel.
We are not selling them. If you give us
A donation. Yes, a donation. Give until it brings you joy. Right? All right. The other thing I also want to let you know is that we've got, of course, the wonderful Christmas season is coming up here. There's a couple of things that if y'all didn't forget, it's poinsettia season. We have this tradition in this church where people bring poinsettias and we decorate everything in December and through Christmas Eve, and then you can take them home afterwards. So if you would like to bring a poinsettia, that would be wonderful. Thank you, Linda Sperry, for starting us off today. With that, the other thing is that we have our wonderful Christmas Eve service. We're going to be celebrating family traditions and family songs that we grew up with. We sing lots of carols. And if you would like to be part of a video that has a picture of maybe you or your kids when you were younger, send them over to Beth. You can send it to me. I can send it on to Beth too if you don't know. But send it over to us and we'll include it in the video. I've already sent mine and Beth said, oh my gosh, that's so cute. So it was me and my twin sister on Christmas. So I want to encourage you to do that. The deadline for that is on Thursday. So we'll put something in the blast as well as a reminder, but if you'd like to, that'd be awesome. So let us join our wonderful Beth in singing our benediction.
Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me.
All right. May you find something this week that just kills you with delight. This service is over. Let our service continue.